Hi, Paula. Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Hi, lovely to be with you, Kira. Yeah.
Thank you. So, mental health and well-being are really important topics for us here at Impeel. So, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. And as National Workplace Wellbeing Day is coming up shortly, I just wanted to gain a little bit more insight into your thoughts regarding the importance of mental health and well-being, but particularly within the workplace. So, just to get started, would you be able to explain to our listeners a little bit about the work that you do?
Yeah, so Suicidal Survive is a national suicide prevention and mental health promotion charity. So we're working in that space of suicide prevention and mental health promotion, and also around breaking stigma around mental health, because there's still a lot of stigma there. But we provide a number of educational programs for people in that space. So we have our Eden program, which is for people who have attempted or contemplated suicide. It runs one morning a week for 26 weeks, and there is nothing else like it worldwide. So it's truly an innovative program. We've been running that since 2007. We also have one-day wellness workshops for people in communities all over Ireland, and that's really about bringing people together, 50 people in a room, to chat about mental health, something we don't ever do, and to learn simple, practical and effective tip, tools and techniques that they can use to monitor and manage their own mental health. We have the Wellness Recovery Action Planning Program, which is originated in the United States, with the Copeland Centre there, and that's where people develop their own wellness recovery action plan. So it's a much more detailed plan for their own recovery. I describe mine as almost like my manual to my mental health. Do you know, it's written by me for me. And we also have a supporters program for people who are trying to support somebody in their lives, maybe a loved one who's struggling with their mental health, and who maybe doesn't have the skills or doesn't know. And sometimes their own self-care goes on the back burner. So it's really encouraging people to care for themselves while also teaching them basic skills that they can use to support their loved one. We have wellness webinars, which kind of came about through the pandemic because we had to put things online. We could no longer have 50 people in a room. So we run at least one wellness webinar every week, and that's open to the general public. And they're on different topics to do with wellness and mental health. And then we have a suite of workplace offerings. So I suppose, since we're talking about National Workplace Wellbeing Day, that's really what we're here to talk about. So we have a number of different offerings there. We have a manager's workshop, which is a 3-hour workshop and really aimed at uh, breaking down stigma, increasing the manager's capacity to have conversations around mental health and well-being with their staff, and to be able to support them in their role as manager. So that teaches some of those kind of support skills, and really it's all about creating an open workplace culture around mental health. Then we also have 90-minute sessions on well-being for staff, on learning how to, again, tips, tools and techniques to manage their own mental health and to create that common language around mental health in the organisation. And then we have a number of other sessions that are more specific, things like sessions on silencing your inner critic, because we all have an inner critic that can really, really be quite strong in the workplace. We have things on how to deal with the dips and the down days, how to manage anxiety, how to try and get balance in your life. So we have a range of those programs that can be then tailored to meet the needs of any employer.
That's amazing. That sounds like you do so much work and it covers all sorts of aspects and areas. That's brilliant. And how important do you think it is to maintain a workplace environment that acknowledges the mental health of its employees?
I think it's massively important. You know, we don't leave our mental health at home when we go home. You know, we bring our mental health to work with us. That's our whole selves. And you know, it's hugely important for employers to actually have the fullness of their employees with them in the workplace. So if we have to leave a part of us behind and put on that face and pretend, it makes it much more difficult for us to actually do our job, to be productive, to be effective, to be connected, and to work well. And so really, really, really important for employers to be considering that, because, you know, we talk about mental health, and there's a statistic out there that says 1 in 4 people will struggle with their mental health during their lifetime. And actually, that's not true. 4 in 4 of us will. 1 in 4 of us will go to the doctor and get a diagnosis of having a mental health difficulty. But that doesn't mean the rest of us won't struggle from time to time. You know, we're all going to face challenges in our lives. We're all going to get overwhelmed. We're all going to struggle. So mental health belongs to every single one of us. So every single employee and manager has an issue with their mental health. The issue is either it's not in a great space and they need to get it into a better space, or it's in a great space and they need to keep it there. But either way, it's a part of us, and so really important, because we spend so much of our time at work. You know, so important that mental health is acknowledged, and that that employers are actually looking after their employees, and creating a space where it's okay to be struggling. And we know that that employees are becoming much more discerning about this. So in terms of even retention of employees, in terms of absence management, in terms of attracting talent, in terms of the retention of talent, it's really, really important, because employees are looking for employers that actually are mental health conscious.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And for any of employers who may be watching this, what practices could employers put in place to ensure that they're maintaining their employees' well-being?
Well, I think there's that element of personal responsibility. So it's not all up to the employer. The employees
Yeah.
have to manage their own well-being as well. It's about creating a culture or an environment where well-being is consistently on the agenda, not just on Workplace Wellbeing Day or in the month coming up to Workplace Wellbeing Day. That it's something that's constantly being looked at. I think it's really important for employers to have policies that are mental health friendly. So, and that's not just about having a policy around mental health, it's about mental health proofing or well-being proofing all their other policies. Looking at how they do their work. I mean, we know with the new hybrid working arrangements that people have been engaging in, which are actually a lot of employees are looking for and are eager to continue. Some aren't, but some are. That actually, there can be a bit of a disconnect. It can be much more difficult to support people when they're struggling. It can be more difficult to speak about it. So it's creating environments where people can have those conversations, where well-being isn't, where there's no stigma. It's breaking down the stigma, creating a common language, creating a culture, but also creating a culture where we're looking after our diet, where exercise is important, where we're socializing together, we're having that banter and that chit chat, which is so important to both our physical health and our mental health. But it's about keeping a constant eye on it and making sure that that it's always there on the agenda, and we're looking, how can we do this better? How can we achieve excellence in this area? And that'll change because people's needs are emerging. So it is that, making sure that that we're risk assessing. So we often risk assess in an organization for physical hazards, slips and trips, and is the lighting okay? Is it too much noise? All of those kind of things. But we often don't risk assess for psychological risks or well-being risks. So that's important as well, to keep it on our health and safety, because it's health, safety and welfare we're supposed to be looking after. So it's keeping it on that agenda, as well as just monitoring it, and I suppose keeping the eye out to say, is there something that's not quite right here? Is there something more we could be doing? Is there something more we could be encouraging our employees to be doing? Because as I said, it's all about personal responsibility. And in SOS, one of our mantras is, if it's to be, it's up to me. We can get support and advice and encouragement from other people, but we also have to be willing to actually implement that and put that into practice ourselves. So it's encouraging people to do that.
Great. And just follow up on that, what benefits do you see with people who are actively working on their mental health and well-being?
Well, I can tell you the benefits I see for me. Yeah, because I need to actively work on my well-being, because I'm a bit of an old workaholic, so I have to watch that, and I have to make sure that I'm getting the balance. And I know that when I have that balance right, when I'm looking after my well-being, as I said, whether it's my physical, my mental, or my social well-being, I'm happier. Do you know? When I'm happier, I'm more productive, I'm more creative, I'm nicer to be around. Do you know? So those are the benefits, and actually you can get more out of your life. You can get more out of your own personal life, you can get more out of your working life, and you can contribute more, even on the days when you're struggling. Yeah. And actually, to allow that to happen, to allow yourself to struggle and take a dip, and to be watching that and be saying, okay, I'm taking a bit of a dip today. What can I do to support myself today? So it's not always about the great days, it's also
Yeah.
about the difficult days. But I know, I mean, there's evidence that shows that employees are far more productive and creative when they're looking after their well-being, and that's both personal and professional. And also, when you have an employer who's committed to the well-being of their employees and creating a culture and an environment in the workplace that's supportive of employees, they're far more loyal. So you increase productivity, you reduce absenteeism and presenteeism, which is always also an issue, and also you retain staff. because if you create a nice place to work, people will want to work there. You know?
Yeah, that's brilliant. And just lastly, just to finish up, what advice would you give to someone who's perhaps struggling with their mental health, or someone who just wants to improve their well-being on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I would be saying to people who are struggling with their mental health, don't struggle alone. Yeah, there's loads of support out there, so reach out for support. An awful lot of employers now have EAP programs, employee assistance programs. Reach out, use your employee assistance program. If your employer doesn't have one, advocate for one, and because they're amazing services. Or talk to somebody that you trust, talk to a friend, a family member, a work colleague, talk to your GP, get some support for yourself. That you don't have to be alone. So many people are afraid to speak about their mental health, and particularly at work, you know, and I know I've been in that position myself where I was struggling with my mental health and had to speak about it at work. And I found that really difficult. And I'm somebody who wouldn't hold stigma around anybody else, but it's amazing the internal stigma we hold about ourselves that we don't realize until it's us. So I would encourage them to speak to somebody you can trust, speak to somebody who you support. Samaritans helpline 116123. They're always there 24/7 in the middle of the night when you wake up and there's nobody else there. The HSE's website, yourmentalhealth.ie, has a broad range of supports by geographical area in Ireland. But I would also encourage people to start looking at their mental health and noticing when they begin to take a dip, because very often we're not looking at it. We have a wonderful little tool that we teach people about on our workshops called the Wellness Continuum. And that helps us to monitor our mental health, because very often we kind of keep on keeping on. You know, we're struggling a little bit, but we think by the weekend I'll be all right by the weekend, or it's the holidays are coming, or whatever. And we don't pay attention to it, and we don't notice when the little cracks appear until there's a pothole in our lives, and then we think, how did I get here? So I'd say start looking, monitoring on a daily basis, catch it early. Yeah, it's easier to intervene when it's early, and then make sure you're getting balance in your life. Small little things that you enjoy, incorporating small little things that you enjoy in your workplace. Again, we encourage people to develop what we call a wellness jar, which again we teach people about on our workshops, which is about taking a proactive approach to mental health. We brush our teeth every day for our dental health. Very few of us do anything on purpose for the purpose of looking after our mental health. So it is starting to take a proactive approach, looking after your mental health when you're well. Don't wait until you're struggling. You know, do things you enjoy. Get outside, get some exercise, listen to music, talk to friends, whatever it is that rocks your boat or that makes you feel better and gives you a little bit of a lift. It won't make all the problems go away, but it certainly will help. So it's doing things to help yourself.
That's amazing advice. I love the fact that you said to take action now rather than waiting until you're actually struggling, which is, I think, really important. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. It was great to speak to you. And it's great that we can bring to people's attention the importance of managing employee wellness and actively looking after your mental health and taking responsibility for yourself. So it's lovely to chat with you. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Kira. And if anybody's looking to talk to us or to our organisation, they can contact us on info@suicidalsurvive.ie or 012722158.